Hello, ladies. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your host, Candace Dupree. Welcome to another episode of How Did I Get Here with Candace Dupree. Today's episode is called Breaking the Cycle, where we're exploring all the many different cycles that women need to be broken, clearly, and just the ill-informed woman. We're going to go through all of the different things that we've experienced as women. And so whether you're here for inspiration or reflection or just to connect with your girl, you are most certainly in the right place. I've had the chance to talk to many different women, young, old, middle age, and I've noticed with some women, not all of them, even with myself at times in different periods of my life, I've noticed that there was a cycle. And unfortunately, this cycle produced many unfortunate things in our life. And some things we're not comfortable sharing. Sometimes we are comfortable sharing. But I want to talk to you today about breaking the cycle and being ill-informed. And when we think about somebody who's ill-informed, it just simply means that you lack the information or you lack the education surrounding something. And so I can remember a time where I felt like I knew it all, right? We've all been there where we've been like a teenager, or you're in college, or maybe you're dating, you're still in your early 20s. And I'm telling you, when you leave your parents' home or you're in college, you feel like you know it all. You feel like you got it all together. You've maybe experienced a few breakups, maybe a few heartaches, or whatever. And so you feel like, oh, I've been through it, so I kind of get this. Like, I know what this looks like. I kind of get it. And you don't. And I can say that because I've spoken to women, even women in their 30s, and these women are so ill-informed and ill-equipped. And if we could just dismantle, that's so good, if we can just dismantle what we feel like we know and dismantle ourselves, just disarm, let's just say that, just disarm what we feel like we know about a thing, I feel like we will be so much further in just who we are as women, who we are just on our journey. And so why are so many women ill-informed? Again, I feel like it's lacking adequate knowledge or information. And so with so many different streams of information out there, with so many different outlets, right? We got social media, we got Instagram, we got the TikToks, we got the YouTubes. And so a lot of times women are looking to figure out, how can I educate me on something? How can I educate myself on a specific topic? And unfortunately, what happens is, because you have, anybody can get on social media. Anybody can get on a YouTube and feel like they know it all. And so essentially what ends up happening is we are equipping ourselves sometimes with misinformation or knowledge that's simply not true. And so I can think back on a time, again, where I felt like I knew. And so when you feel like you know a thing, or you feel like you have all the information, well, you'll also notice, right, especially if you don't have the right information, you will notice a cycle. A cycle is beginning to happen in your life. And where is this cycle coming from, right? You might ask. Maybe you have never been in a church, or maybe you don't have a lot of girlfriends, or, maybe you're so introverted where you don't get out much, so you don't know, right? But a lot of times when you are in a cycle and something is repetitive and you keep seeing it happen over and over again, you have to ask yourself, again, that comes from the disarming, right? Because again, we don't know everything, but you have to ask yourself, like, where is this coming from? Why am I in a cycle of dating the same kind of men? Such a good topic. Why am I in a cycle of, I keep finding myself in financial ruin? Like, where is this cycle coming from where I feel like I have really good girlfriends around me, but they're actually not good girlfriends, and I keep, getting hurt? Because one thing that I always hear women say, that is heartbreaking is I don't hang around women. Like, I don't have girlfriends. Like, I don't do women. You know, most of my friends are boys or men or whatever it is. And it's so sad. It's like, wow, you know? And so, again, that comes from that cycle. But where does that cycle come from? And what I could say is maybe it's generational, right? So maybe your mother was a person, or your grandmother or your aunt, whoever raised you, or what you've seen. Sometimes it's our community, right? The people that we see, we learn from. We're learning all the time. You're gathering information all the time, even information that you're not studying or that you're not trying to receive. You are gathering information all the time. And so it's a whole nother topic, but that's why it's important to recognize that your eyes and your ears are gates, right? That you have to gatekeep. But where is the cycle coming from, right? And so you have to begin to ask yourself that. And again, you have to disarm and say, I don't have all the information. I don't know everything there is to know. But again, maybe you've seen your mother in bad relationships. And so now you're entering bad relationships. Maybe you grew up thinking that around girlfriends, or maybe you were raised with somebody who seemed like they were your friend and then weren't your friend. And then there's this cycle all over again. But what I can tell you is, if you are a defensive person, and I can speak directly to that, that I've been defensive, right? I've been like, no, that's not me. But if you are that type of person, I can tell you that you are going to find yourself, or maybe you are in a cycle. You have to, I don't want to keep going back to this, but you have to just get rid of all the information that you feel like you know, and let people who are, whether it's mentors or, friends that you know are really good friends, tell you about yourself. Tell you not just the good things, because we love to hear all the good things about us, right? And unfortunately, we live in a world where a lot of people don't tell you all the good things about you. But if there is somebody who loves you that's saying, you know what, Candace, I find that you can be like this, or I find that you can really be like this, right? Again, that goes back to breaking that cycle. Breaking that cycle. And so I really believe, I'm going to slow down here. I really believe that if we can get to a point where we understand where we are, and this is a really good point for you. If you can be honest about where you are on your journey, because we're all journeying through life, right? Nobody has reached a destination. And I mentioned that in the last episode titled Essence of a Woman. If you haven't watched, please go back and watch. It was so much good information. I even learned something just speaking, but it was so much good information. But if we can realize where we are about being a woman and about breaking that cycle, then we can begin to learn, begin to grow, begin to prosper, and begin to really start to break off those things that we feel like we know. Because sometimes we feel like we've arrived, right? And what happens is, here's the point. What happens is, when you are in a place and you feel like, oh, I've arrived, or I know, life will humble you so quickly. And you will, if you're not careful, right? This is how people end up in depression, with anxiety, feeling lonely, or feeling like they're alone, or this is how people end up, especially women, right? There's a statistic, this is a real statistic, that women end up more depressed with anxiety than men. And why is that? I'm going to tell you why. One thing is that women lack accountability. We do. We don't want to be told when we're wrong. We don't want to be held accountable, because a lot of times we're women. So it's like, why do I have to be accountable to that? That's a man's fault, or that's his fault. Don't let you be in a relationship. Again, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm married, and so I know I've been there, right? Where it's like, well, why should I have to be accountable to that? Like, I could easily put that off on my husband. He's the leader of the house, right? And so, but it's like, no, you have to be accountable to you because you are a woman who you are journeying through life. You have a purpose, you have a destiny, you have a calling. And so, if you can be ill equipped and ill informed about who you are as a woman, then guess what? That means now your purpose is being stolen from you. Your destiny is being stolen from you. Your calling is being stolen from you. Because see, that is the lie of the enemy. His biggest, we know scripture and maybe we don't. If you're new here and maybe you don't know scripture. But the enemy's job is to steal, kill, and destroy. But most certainly his job is to steal, kill, and destroy and to have your attention on the wrong things, right? And so if you can be a woman who you are stagnant and you're in the place of thinking that you know, right? Again, that cycle, thinking that you know everything. Nobody can tell you nothing. When somebody goes to correct you, then you just shift blame, right? Well, no, it's them. It's this person, right? Then you can be stuck. You can be stuck. I've been stuck. I can sit here so confidently and share with you because this is a testimony. This is a huge testimony because I've experienced all the things that the younger women don't have to experience. And I know that this is just for you. Maybe you're a woman and you are new here. You don't know me. Maybe you've never seen me. You don't know who I am. But I know that I am sitting here as a testament for you, to you. You don't have to go through the things that I've been through. You don't have to experience the things that I've experienced. And no, my life hasn't always been hard, and it's not going to be hard, right? But I've gone through things that I'm like, man, if I could just save her this heartache, if I could just save a woman or even a guy, right? If I can just save you from this, if I can just deter you or deviate. See, this is why it's so important to have somebody who's leading you. This is why it's so important. This is why mentors are so important. This is why pastors are so important. This is why overseers, right? These are people who oversee you. Sometimes we don't even want to listen to them. And it's just like, it breaks my heart when I see women. And it's like, oh my God, I can see, maybe I see who she's dating or talking to, and I'm like, girl, please go the other way. Please go the other way. Please go the other way. But you can't tell these women this. Like, if you just go like, girl, can I, it used to be where a mother in the church, right? We call them mothers, or we call them a mother in the church, or even our aunts. Like, we had real aunties who were like, girl, let me step into my closet real quick. Come over here, right? And it was just a space. They didn't have to know you. They didn't have to know they didn't even have to know your first name. But they can take you to the side and say, listen, I see that guy you dating. He ain't the one. I'm telling you right now, right? But nowadays, and not even when it comes to dating, just how you live as a woman, like, girl, I can see how you've, been moving around. I can see how you've been talking to people. I'm telling you, don't do it, right? And they're able to tell us these things because they've been through it. And no, I'm not over the hill, right? I'm not old, but I've been through enough where I have little sisters or women my age or whatever, and I've seen enough. I've experienced enough. I've been married. I've had kids. I've journeyed through life, and I'm still journeying. Again, I'm still learning. I have mentors. I have people that I look to. I have people that I'm accountable to. So I look to them. So I have not made it. But if I could help you, if I could save one person by saying, break the cycle. And we're going to still dive into that. We're going to explore what that really looks like, right? We're going to explore what breaking the cycle looks like. And we have a segment in our show where we do some Q&A, so we have questions and answers, and so we'll get more into that. But if I could encourage anybody today, if I can encourage you, if you're a woman and you're new here and you're like, oh my goodness, I love this show, I want to encourage you to dismantle, disarm Be okay with being honest with yourself. Be okay with seeking out mentors. Be okay with seeking help. Be okay with actually saying, like, man, I'm actually not in a good mental space. I remember being there, right? Where it's like, man, I'm not in a good mental space. Like, I need to step back from some things. You know, I remember being at a place where I'm like, I'm actually hurt about this. And anybody that really knows me, Candace, is if you hurt me, or I'm very honest and I'm very genuine and authentic, and I pride myself on that, because it's taken falling and getting back up again to become that. It's taken, like, I actually don't like how it feels when I'm not honest with myself. So I pride myself on being honest and genuine with people. And so I require the same thing in return. But if I couldn't leave you with that, if I can encourage and leave you with that, I would say be honest with yourself. Be authentic with you. You owe that to yourself, because you're never going to get to there. You're never going to be able to move forward and become the woman that you are destined to be, because you are destined to be somebody. You are somebody. I don't know if you've heard that you are not, but you are somebody. Remember to dismantle, disarm, be honest, be authentic with yourself. We don't know everything, right? And so as you think on those things, we're going to head on over to Q&As. This is absolutely one of my favorite parts of the show, where we go right into Q&As. If you want to send a question in, if you have questions and you're like, I need an answer to this, make sure that you're sending them in to info@CandaceDupree.com. You could be one of the lucky ones to have your questions read right here on How Did I Get Here? All right, we're going to get right into it. So, one of the questions that we have is, how do I know if I'm an ill-informed woman? Or how do I know if I'm in a cycle? This is such a really good question, because sometimes we're in a cycle. Sometimes we're so ill-informed and ill-equipped, and we don't even know. And it can be a sad thing, but it doesn't have to be a sad thing. And so, if you're a woman who you're very defensive, if it's hard to teach you anything, like you're not really teachable, then you might just be ill-informed, or you might be in a cycle. Because a lot of times when again, it goes back to feeling like we know everything, or you're not teachable. A lot of times it's just you feeding yourself information. And so if you're feeding yourself information, how do you know that you've broke out of a cycle that you were once in? You're not, this is another one. Progression. You're not progressing, right? And so if you are not progressing, you're not elevating, there's no motion or movement, and not just motion or movement, because sometimes we can be moving and we can be making a lot of motion. A lot of times we can be making a lot of motion, but it doesn't mean that we are excelling at something or excelling in life, right? And so if this is you, you might be in a cycle. You may be ill-informed. And again, it's okay. We've all been there. Or maybe you haven't been there. Maybe you're perfect and everything works out for you. Everything works out for you. You know, you excel at everything. You elevate. If you're one of those people, this show might not be for you, you know. But if you're not, it's okay. It's okay. We can get there, right? Another thing that I would look at is who you hang around, right? We've heard this from our parents growing up. Maybe you've heard this from aunts or, you know, people that birds of a feather flock together. It's a true statement. And so if you have friends and they're in cycles, or they're ill-informed, they're ill-equipped, more than likely you are too. So you might want to get from around those people. If you see yourself elevating in a way where you're like, man, this isn't working for me. I want elevation. I want to go somewhere. I want to be somebody. You know, maybe you have so many big dreams and maybe you have so many big hopes. But if you are amongst people who don't dream, or again, who's ill-equipped, ill-informed, you can't teach them anything, then you might be in a cycle. And the best way to break that cycle is to get from amongst those type of people. All right, let's go into number 2. What strategies have you found most effective in your personal growth journey? And how have they shaped your approach to relationships and achieving prosperity? What strategies have you found most effective? To be honest with you, it's been nothing but the Holy Spirit. It's been, I have to give all credit to just God. And you can have God, and here's the thing, you can know who God is, kind of, or you could have grown up in the church, right? I grew up in the church. You could have been that type of person, but it doesn't mean that you were really a follower or a believer of his word, of what he calls you, what he says about you. And so that's been my biggest strategy. Of course, when you are living a healthier life, right? Maybe a healthier lifestyle. All of these things will help you reach a level of prosperity. And that has definitely shaped my approach as well. But I have to count it all to knowing who God is, having a relationship, a true relationship. Not just like, oh, I kind of like, but like really like getting closer to him, having intimacy with him. And I think I did a video about that. I don't even think it's been released. But like having that true intimacy with him, because a relationship without intimacy isn't a relationship at all. Number 3, how do you balance the pursuits of personal goals with maintaining healthy and supportive relationships? And what advice would you give to others striving to do the same? Honestly, I just be. And I've learned that. Again, it's all been a lot of learning for me. It's all been a lot of like, oh, okay, I had to learn that the hard way, or I had to experience this way. And so now I just do what it is that I'm called to do what it is that my Father, God, do what it is that he's calling for me to do. And that's just it, you know. And when it comes to balancing and maintaining healthy relationships, I believe if you are doing exactly what God called you to do or to be, everything else is easy. That's the easy part. It's when we dial back or do things that we're not supposed to be doing, or be places we're not supposed to be, or hang out with people we're not supposed to be hanging out with, or, you know, receiving information that we're not supposed to be receiving, right? But when you are doing the thing that God is calling for you to do and to be, and walking in your destiny, your purpose, maybe you don't know what that is, and we're going to dive into that as well on another episode. But if you are doing just that, and you're just being, and you're living, and you're present, everything else is easy. Everything else will work itself out. So maintaining relationships and balancing relationships, those things will maintain. I mean, I don't want to say they'll maintain itself, but that's the easy part. You know, even relationships that you're supposed to have, you will attract, right? Going back to the law of attraction, you will attract those type of relationships because now you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. This has been fun. I absolutely love this part of the show. Again, if you are wanting to ask me a question, or maybe you will see a guest one day and they're on here and you want to ask them a question, or maybe you are just like, I would love to hear Candace talk about this on how did I get here, right? Because how the heck did we get here? But send those questions in at info@CandaceDupree.com. Guys, this is another one of my favorite parts of the show where I get to talk about home decor. I love home styling, I love set styling, but now I get to do it for myself. And so we highlight a few pieces. So if you are a person and you have a brand or you have an item, maybe it's a vase or maybe it's a pillow or a throw or whatever it is, a book that you want to be showcased here on my set, please write me at info@CandaceDupree.com and I'll be sure to do that. We have a pillow, and I love this pillow. It's very textured, from Original 21. If you don't have it, I don't know. They might be sold out, but maybe you can get one. Maybe you can. Again, it's all fun. It's all to make sure we have a cute space here. And so, again, make sure that you're sending that in at info@CandaceDupree.com.